It's now time for On the Line with Cheryl Wilkerson. The conversation will range from local dialogue to international. This show is meant to enlighten, inform, and to inspire. On the Line with Cheryl Wilkerson begins now.
Hello and welcome to On the Line. I'm your host, Cheryl Wilkerson. On a Sunday morning, one of my favorite parts of Sunday morning is bringing you people that you can learn from, people you can get nuggets from, people that are just plain interesting, people that can add something to your life. And this morning, I'm telling you all, I have got a rock star on my hands. So when I went to Norfolk State University, I had a roommate, and she was the bomb. I just loved her spirit because it was very calm, very reassuring. She didn't get caught up in drama. She just did her work. And her name was Jerry. As a matter of fact, some of you all might know her now. Her name is Jerry Keels, recently married. But her mother, you know, when we find ourselves with certain dispositions and personalities or whatever, many times it comes from our parents, especially the parent of the same sex, they say has the same influence on you. So I always attributed the fact that Jerry was such a wonderful person from her mother. And her mother is who we are speaking to today. I call her Miss Wilma, but her name is Miss Wilma Horn, born and bred in Portsmouth, a native of the 757. But I'm telling you, when she spread her wings, she spreads her wings. Welcome to the program, Miss Wilma. How are you?
Oh, boy, what a lovely introduction. I am fine.
Well, you are all of that and much more that I haven't even said. So some people in the area may know you because, like I said, you went to school right here in Hampton Roads. Tell us Tell us as much as you want to tell us about early life.
Like you said, born and bred in Portsmouth, so elementary days and growing up in the little community called Douglas Park. And I went on to Norcom, like all of us in Portsmouth went on to Norcom. Mm-hmm. And the Norcom experience was obviously a very good experience for me, as for many others. As a matter of fact, they had a grand reunion. Jerry got married on Friday, and his grand reunion was on Saturday. And let me tell you, the people were out there, happy, proud, beyond belief about having been associated with IC North.
Wonderful. And where did you see yourself going, or what did you see yourself doing, Miss Wilma, after graduating? When you're like a junior and certainly as a senior, what were your plans?
Well, you'll hear me use the term back in the day because there were a few days ago that we had this. But back in the day, okay, the expectation was that you would get married and teach, that is, if you went to college, that is. Mm-hmm. And I was adamant about going to college. None of my other sisters had that fire, but I was insistent on going, and I was a good enough student to get scholarships and the like. So I ended up going to college. But like you said, after college, I majored in math, by the way, which was in those days just a choice. I mean, it was something you liked best. Mm-hmm. But it played a great role in my future. So we went on to do that. And as a matter of fact, I got married at the end of my freshman year.
You know, I think one of the reasons why you are my hero, because not only did you go to an HBCU, Hampton University, you got your Bachelor of Science in mathematics. And Miss Wilma, I'm telling you this with all honesty, I was horrible in math. And to this day, I don't understand it. So anybody such as yourself or Miss Catherine Johnson, anybody that can grasp the concepts of math like you all do, I am in awe of you because I've always just felt so incompetent when it came to math.
Oh, it's unfortunate because math is probably the easiest thing to do because
What?
It's all mine. You said, like I said, I got married at the end of my freshman year. That it did not demand a lot of my time. You know, you could kind of work out problems and do stuff in your head. You don't have to spend hours laboring over it.
You didn't. So. I do. So you got that degree in mathematics. That was around.
Got a degree in mathematics, and like I said, I had already gotten married, so I fully expected to teach the rest of my days, and I did immediately teach. As a matter of fact, you had a second daughter. You remember Marion?
Yes.
And Marion was born at the end of my senior year by plan, because my plan was to have those two children and get the children business out the way, and I have to be bothered with that anymore.
You are meticulous when it comes to planning, right?
I am a planner. I really am.
Mm-hmm.
So sure enough, she was born a little late. She was supposed to be born, graduate on 1st of June. She was born on the 7th of July, which I thought was a late.
Oh, wow.
But at any rate, she came, and boy, was she a bundle, too.
So, but you found time to go get the master's degree.
Well, I was teaching, and you know, you could do it on a Saturday, and I could do it at Hampton, so why not?
And you taught in Chesapeake.
I taught in Chesapeake for 6 years at a junior high school, and I ultimately ended up, being department head. But that made me realize how difficult it would be to move anywhere. You know what I'm saying? Department head was a big deal, and I would have been the department head for the rest of my life. You know, if I hadn't left, because, you know, in the school system, all teachers were paid, similar rates. Mm-hmm. You only had a department head to a school. Every school had one, so after looking at all of that, I said, you know what, if I had a chance to do something different, I think I would. Well, lo and behold, I ended up divorced.
Wow, so you had not planned that part.
Well, not quite.
Okay.
But I kind of saw it coming.
Uh-huh.
But when it happened, I said, you know what, let's go back to ground level zero here and do what you want to do and would have done if you had not been married.
But, Miss Wilma, this is part of what I'm trying to tell you. Now, and then this funny, me trying to tell you. This is what is amazing, because do you know how many women would find themselves in that same predicament, in that same position, and say, well, you know what? I'm not going to make any changes because at least I've got these 2 degrees, and at least I've got this department head. And so, you know what? I'm doing pretty good for myself, and I'm just going to remain here. Most people, I don't know if they would have the sense that you had to say, okay, well, this is time to reset.
Well, it was not dreamed up out of the blue. I was an avid reader, and I just have this firm belief that if it can come out of anybody's mind, it can happen. Mm-hmm. So as I would read, and hear stories where people went on to do things that they had not planned to do and were successful at it with the plan and how they went about doing it. So I figured if they could do it, I could do it. So why not?
Wow.
You always miscalculate something. Mm-hmm. I'm thinking about all of this. I'm not thinking about the fact that I'm trying to do this with children. Mm-hmm. I'm not thinking about the fact that I'm trying to do this as a black woman. Mm-hmm, mm-hmm. I'm not thinking about any of those things. I'm just going out there looking for the job and seeing if I can get my step into what I wanted to do, is to get into corporate America. And
did you know that you wanted to do that through information technology?
I did, and I'm going to tell you, I learned about it at 15 years old.
Okay.
I used to work for... Back in the day, we used to work as what we call mother's helpers for families, typically Jewish families, who would hire somebody for the summer to take care of the children to free up the women.
Oh, okay.
And I had found a family that I spent 3 summers with, by the way, so we got to be quite close. And there was a neighbor on the street who was an actuary for an insurance company. Mm-hmm. And that insurance company got one of the first computers to be used commercially. And that neighbor told me about that. You know, we were talking about it because I babysat for them sometimes. Mm-hmm. So he told me about that, and I said, you know what? That's what I want to do. But how you do it at 15 years old, I had no clue. Well, here I am now, divorced, looking for a career, and guess what? In this area, I think it was the end of probably the Vietnam War, they were doing a lot of, what do you call these, hiring job fairs. Mm-hmm. for the military men, especially the officers.
Okay.
And when I read about it in the paper, I called up and asked could I come. They said, sure. So I showed up and interviewed just like everybody else and got job offers too. And I ended up getting 3 job offers, believe it or not. And out of the 3, I chose what I considered to be the safest with the children, which was for a company called Air Products in Allentown, Pennsylvania. So there I started as a programmer trainee, and the career began.
Okay, but you make it sound so simple, Miss Wilma. You just make it sound
hindsight,
matter-of-factly. Maybe that's the word.
In hindsight, you could view it that way, but I can't say I was really stumbling at it because I really had a plan, and I proceeded with it. And the surprising thing was there was obviously no support for the plan because nobody could relate to what I was thinking about.
Mm-hmm.
You know, I always laugh about the fact my dad, and the day that moving van came to move me to Allentown, had purchased a chair from Haynes Furniture Company. I said, Dad, you got to get the chair today. He said, what's so special about today? I said, I'm moving. The moving van is in front of my house. I got to have the van. I got to have the chair to take with me. He said, what in the world are you doing with a moving van in front of your house? I said, Dad, I've been telling you for the last 6 months that I was moving. He ain't heard a word. I mean, it never even clicked.
Uh-huh.
And the same thing was true with the guy I was dating. You know, I'm talking about this every second I can think of. He drives by at lunchtime, sees the moving van, and said, what's going on over here? I said, today is moving day. Moving day to where?
Oh, my
I
goodness.
said, I just told you last night that tomorrow is moving day. It just passed completely by everybody.
Mm-hmm. But not you.
Well, I certainly did get on that, put that stuff on that truck, went on to Allentown and found myself a place to live and started my career.
And did you stay there 2 years before Xerox? Is that how that went?
Well, yes, and there was a reason for every one of the moves, and I have moved a few times. All of them consistent with the career, so believe it or not, that's not a negative thing.
Mm-hmm.
But I was there for 2 years, and I had expected raises for those 2 years. And we ran into some wage price guideline stuff that was used as an excuse not to give the increases.
Mm-hmm.
Now, you got to understand, if I'm there, I'm moving from a place where I had babysitting help with my sisters. I'm moving to a place where I got to pay for everything.
Mm-hmm.
So I told my boss this amount of money without the promised increases does not allow me to survive. And he told me, but you're so fortunate to be in this position. I said, you know that they don't pay me no discounts for fortunate when I go to buy food or pay rent. Yeah, I pay the same thing everybody else pays, and I'm telling you, the money's not enough. So he says, that's the best we can do. I said, you sure of that? He said, yes. So I always had headhunters looking for me all my career. Mm-hmm. So the next time a headhunter knocked, I said, I'm ready to listen now.
And so you went to the Mid-Atlantic Data Center, and you were leading a project team, and you did that nationwide, and then you ended up with, is it Burroughs?
That's right.
And
which later became Unisys, which is what they are today.
Unisys. You were there a couple of years, right?
Now, the significance of Burroughs, by the way,
tell me,
Unisys, is that I had an international responsibility. I had development centers like in Australia and New Zealand. So that introduced me to the world of travel.
Okay.
You know, right? Because, you had to visit them at least once or twice a year. So I said, you know what, this feels good. When I get a chance and I can afford to pay for it, I might just do a little bit more of this.
But how did you manage with the children? Being away from your family?
I paid for it like everybody else. You got to, you created good relationships with neighbors. And I always lived in communities where there were very few blacks. Mm-hmm. So the few that were there were very helpful to each other. Like I might live in a community where you could count 12 blacks in the whole city, whole town. Mm-hmm. But they were very helpful because they had the same need. to expose their children
Right.
to other black children. So that was helpful. Paid for babysitting care. I had a young lady who had come over here from Barbados, who, have people kind of attach themselves to you. So she ended up being my babysitter when I traveled overnight.
Oh, great.
So you work it out. If you want to do it, you find a way.
You did join the Port Authority of New York and New Jersey in 1990, and you were on the 71st floor of the World Trade Center back in 1993.
That's right. I went to the Port Authority as part of a plan to come home.
Okay.
There are not many major corporations in this area, but there is the Marine Port Authority and the Airport Port Authority. So my intent was to go to the Port Authority to get that experience and use that to come home to one of these, one of these jobs.
Right.
But and I don't know how these port authorities locally really work other than what they do. But there, the Port Authority operated like a state government, with the rules and regulations, and they actually were responsible to the governors of the two states with commissioners in between. And let me tell you, I didn't like that politics stuff.
So you're not a politician, you found
I
your way.
like politics where I get paid for it.
If you're just joining us, I am speaking with Ms. Wilma Horn. She is my guest today, and it's just good to hear about how people have lived their lives and are living their lives. And you know what? Listening to her, I know somebody out there is getting the strength to do something they should have done, but it's never too late.
That's right.
How did you end up at Ethicon? Ethicon, is that a Johnson & Johnson company?
It's a Johnson & Johnson company.
Okay, all right. Okay.
I had made up my mind that I would not be able to retire in comfort from the Port Authority.
Okay.
So the next time, my headhunters who followed me all around my whole career came knocking. I said, yep, we can talk this time. I said, but here's the deal. I'm tired of moving. So my restriction this time is I want a job where I don't have to move unless I move home. Mm-hmm. That was the only other thing. And Richmond was a mild possibility in those days. But, they weren't doing any big league out of the area hiring.
Okay.
So they ended up with the job at Johnson & Johnson as the head of their IT department. And Ethicon company in particular, Johnson & Johnson had many companies. Mm-hmm. But Ethicon, believe it or not, was their largest. And they were looking for somebody to come in. And by this time, I had gained the reputation of being what they call a fix-it person. IT shops are always the source of a lot of negative comments from people. Nobody loves them. I don't love them either now that I'm retired. But I could get them operating. I could correct the problems and get them back to the point that the criticisms decreased.
Okay.
So I was hired at Johnson & Johnson to do that for that department. And that's where I ended up retiring from.
1999, and then you said, okay, well, I went to Hampton University. Let me turn around and see what's going on at Hampton University.
The truth of the matter is the thing that really prompted me to come home.
What's that?
Is that I lost two sisters that year.
Oh, my goodness.
One in April and one in September.
So how many sisters was it altogether, Ms. Wilma?
There were 7 of us altogether.
Oh, okay.
And the one that I lost in September, we growing up, we kind of paired ourselves off. Mm-hmm. So the one that died in September was my pair.
Yeah, okay.
And I said, you know what? I don't have to have every dollar in the world. Let me see if I can retire. And I had started investing back in the 80s. Mm-hmm. So I went to my broker. I said, I want to retire. The question is, can I retire? And I don't want to be dependent on having to go to work. I'm like 56 years old now. Mm-hmm. So that's a little bit early. So I had to, bridge to Social Security and all that stuff.
Yes.
So they worked up a little plan and told me I could do that, told me what my income would be. And I said, you know what, I'm going to do this. So I decided to retire and come home to finally spend some time with my family. When I left Jerry was in third grade. Marion was just starting school, first grade.
Right.
So they were down here every summer, but I was never down more than 4 or 5 days.
Mm-hmm. Okay.
So I wanted to just come back and get to know family, and of course after both of them became adults, they came back here. So I wanted to get to know them as adults, and surprisingly enough, I was with Jerry last night, and she had this little game and asked this question: what are you doing? What thing is you proudest of now that you think you may or may not have in 10 years? And that was the question for the evening. So everybody had to think about that. And I said, you know what? It's funny to say that because at this moment in my life, I am seeing what I came home to see. Everybody is okay. Everybody is working. Everybody's self-sufficient. Everybody's, taking care of themselves. We over here for fun and nothing else. Jerry's recently married. She's happy as a lark.
Yes, she is.
I say, so, you know what? This is what it was all about.
That gives me goosebumps. I'm like Robin Roberts now. You're going to make me cry. I'm supposed to be trying to make you cry. You're about to make me cry. Yeah. But saying all of that, I need you to, we just have about 10 minutes, maybe not that long, but I just need you to explain to people the mindset where this single mother going all over the world fixing things for people ends up giving a 7-figure gift to Hampton University. Give us that. Give us that. Tell me.
Well, now that too is not all that difficult. When I graduated, I was the only one in my family who was interested in going to college. So I attributed everything that I had done to having gone to college, and in particular Hampton, because Hampton not only gave you a degree, HBCUs, take you in and teach you all the stuff that they know that you don't know. Like how to eat and how to dress and how to behave. They teach you all that stuff. So I think all of that played well for me career-wise.
Okay.
You all right? So I always believed that Hampton was responsible for my ability to step out and do the things. Because Hampton's thing is let your life do the singing. So immediately after graduation, I started giving back to them, like $25 a year, something like that. And I always gave to them, except for maybe a year or two, some amount of money.
Okay.
And when I got into corporate America with major corporations, they match what you give. So I increased my giving to get the full effect of the match. At one point, the company gave 3 to 1.
Yeah.
So I make my little contribution, they give 3 times that. But Hampton attributed all those givings to me.
And see, you were savvy enough that you had saved enough that you could retire early, but at the same time, simultaneously, you were doing this giving. Because a lot of people will tell you can't do both, but you're living proof that you can.
Well, I was investing. I got into the investment world in 1980 when I left Xerox, way back in end of 80. I opened my first brokerage account, and of course they educate you on that. So you in essence, you got 2 sources of income. You got your income from your job, and you got your little income from your investing. So over the years, investment takes a different form depending on where you are. In those days, I wasn't trying to generate a whole lot of money from investing, but the intent was when I retired that investing would be my income. So during those days, I had a little bit of money, and I had income from working. So it wasn't hard to give the $25, $100, or $5,000. You could do that. But go ahead.
I was going to say, ladies and gentlemen, you are speaking to, maybe I should call her Wonder Woman, Miss Wilma Horn.
Oh, no.
She is on the line with us today. If you go to the campus of Hampton University and you go looking for, where is that science and technology building? I know it's somewhere on campus. Well, you're not going to find it because now it is the Wilma Harper Horn Science and Technology Hall. It was dedicated that way when Dr. Harvey was still there. What was the year on that, Miss Wilma?
That was 2017.
2017 was when it was renamed in her honor.
And by the way, they don't have to look for it. It's the first beautiful building you see when you go through the gate.
I can't imagine what it would even feel like to have my name on the side of a building.
It was great. I go visit her often.
Good for you. And I hope you go back there and I hope you drop nuggets for those students. I hope, you should actually do an HBCU tour. Yes, I'm putting it out in the universe because you need to be out and talking to our students. I had a little rough week with some of my students. We have students at the radio station, and, sometimes they get a little off, and you have to, get them back in line. And so I had a little rough week with some of them this week. But what you have, I think so many students could benefit from just listening to you. And I think that they would learn and they would be motivated. Yeah.
As a matter of fact, I was talking to Amanda and Candace, my grandchildren last night. And the idea is don't ever forget the future. I mean, you got to always think about the future. Mm-hmm. And they give you these fast comebacks, Grandma, that's so far off. Yeah, it is. And I say, just remember, Amanda, I want you to know that you have trouble saving. Just save to get yourself $2,000. Do it before you turn 30. Mm-hmm. Don't touch it. Mm-hmm. $2,000 ain't a fortune. Mm-hmm. If you don't touch it, and when you turn 65, you'll be a millionaire, baby.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm. Yeah, that's true. You read that all the time, and
it is the truth.
Yeah,
it is the truth. Mm-hmm. So I tell them, but the key is young folks just want to live for right now. Mm-hmm. They don't want to think about tomorrow because they think something is going to take care of it. Well, something will, but you need to help it along a little bit.
But I think oftentimes, Miss Wilma, I think they are listening. They put it back. Yes, they might file it in a filing drawer in their mind, but they really do listen to what you're telling them.
Yes, they do. My younger daughter, Marion, and I always had I would call it a challenging relationship because I never did stifle my kids in terms of letting them express their feelings.
Yes, ma'am.
And let me tell you, it was hard to take sometimes, but I wanted to know who they were, and I wanted them to be comfortable with me and sharing their feelings. Mm-hmm. But she was sick for many years, and I'm telling you, our conversations in later years, she would repeat often, Mom, everything I would say. Now, she didn't give me credit for it, by the way.
Yep.
But she ran into difficulty one time with her daughter mm-hmm. as a teenager. And she called me up. I was living in Detroit at the time. And she says, Mom, what do I do? I said, how am I supposed to know? I didn't know what to do with you.
That's well done.
She says, yes, you did. And you did it so well. I say, repeat 20 times. Yes, you do. And you did it well.
You are a gem. I'm so glad you joined me this morning. I'm so mad we've run out of time, but I knew that you were a perfect person to talk to, and I'm just thankful that you agreed to do this show today, Ms. Wilma.
Well, I kind of enjoyed it myself, to tell you the truth.
Excellent, excellent. Well, I don't know. You know what? I'm going to do it this way. If there's anybody out there that wants to talk to you or has been inspired by you today, I'm just going to tell them to get in contact with me, and then I'll feed it to you. Will that work?
Okay, sure.
That'll work. Yeah, I gotta make sure I'm taking care of you and protecting you. Okay.
Okay, that'll be fun.
All right, Ms. Wilma Horn has been my guest today. Thank you all for listening. You all have been my guests as well because you all have listened. My name is Cheryl Wilkerson. This is On the Line. We do it every Sunday morning at 11 a.m. You all go out, have a wonderful day. Take care. And as always, behold the green and gold.